Welcome back, everybody, to Two Guys in a Stack of Comics. I am Reed. Along with me is Mike. Mike, how you doing this afternoon, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I got my stack of comics back there, so
Got the 123 showing there. Always nice to see.
I know it's the
Wow.
foil edition too.
Wow. No, those cool facsimiles. In a time when DC seemed to actually like their characters. Um, so
Although we don't know now. That's still the
no,
case.
quite sad. We want to do here is just kind of do a little bit of a follow-up. We talked a little bit in the previous video that we posted about this new game, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Mike and I obviously are not huge gamers. We're more from comic book fans, but both of us had a chance to kind of check out the story, look at the cutscenes, everything that's there. Obviously, a lot of disrespect seemingly thrown the way of the Justice League characters, really the characters who are the foundation of DC Comics and Batman, Superman,
Blatant, blatant
Flash.
disrespect.
Yeah, and it's one thing. I think we talked a little bit about this. Am I shocked in a game called Kill the Justice League? You're going to kill a Justice League member? No, it's more in the way, shape, and form that they decided to do that. To basically just have them kind of go out like punks, to mock and belittle them. And it's mainly surprising for folks like myself and Mike that a company like DC, you would think they'd want to fortify and strengthen these characters, that you would spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a video game, ship it out, and have the characters in the game that you embody as a player assassinate the icons of your industry and literally have one of them urinate on one of the members of the team, mock Batman before shooting him in the head, um, all of that. And so I think, from Mike, from what I would be curious to get your opinion on with this game, obviously somebody from DC had to approve this. And I think you and I, as readers, have seen it for a while where it's kind of seemed like DC doesn't really love their own characters somewhat. Do you see that is this kind of a huge moment where you see this like fully coming through, or have you been seeing this for years where it kind of seems like DC's not really huge fans of their own IP?
I think certain writers, and artists have revealed their true feelings about some of the characters.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If you don't like superheroes and you're an artist or a comic creator, you can go to the indies and write other stories. But we have a tradition here of 80 plus years of some of these venerated characters that we have all grown to love, and there are a million more stories to tell with these characters.
Yeah.
And so it's really disrespectful for the company that is in charge of the characters that we all love,
Yeah.
and to go that way with them. I think first of all, like if I was in the meeting room when this game was proposed, I think I would have killed it right away.
Yeah.
So I think it was a clever idea for a video game that went horribly wrong. Like, wouldn't it be cool to pit this team of villains with the ultimate team of heroes? That is
Mhm.
something that's made for a comic book plot line
Yeah.
throughout the ages, right?
Yeah.
But to do it the way they did it was just terrible. So I'm either, after trying to absorb this for 72 plus hours now, and I will never unsee what I saw to my favorite character, as
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll never unsee what you saw to your favorite
Well,
character.
and
But
I,
I'm in the camp now where either nobody was driving the car when this came out,
mhm.
or I'm in the camp that you proposed where they just don't care anymore. And maybe this has links to our other video, our public domain video, where maybe they
Yeah.
just like, yeah, we'll be done with these characters anyway in 10 years because they'll all be public domain.
Well, what's funny is like even when public domain comes, they're not gonna like lose the rights to them, and they'll still control everything. I think that's the thing is like the version of Superman that'll enter the public domain is the Action Comics #1 Superman, who didn't have the power of flight. There's no Smallville. There's no Daily Planet. I don't believe in that. So a lot of that
It
stuff,
was the Daily Star originally.
yeah. The version of
For
Batman
those
into the public
those
domain.
Superman nerds, it was the Daily Star.
Yeah. And so DC is still going to have these intellectual property for like a decade, at least on their own. And even when it goes to public domain, they'll still control all of the elements for decades. I think the thing that's so,
Oh, I have another theory about
yeah,
this too.
no,
Go ahead.
absolutely. Shoot it. Shoot.
The other theory is this is, and this is like conspiratorial, right? And the other theory is that since James Gunn is going to come in and be the savior of the movie rights or the movie
Hmm.
properties, that maybe they just want to kill these characters off. Even though I know this was the Arkham universe, which is a little bit
Yeah.
different. Don't get me started on universes, but maybe he was just like, let's start with a clean slate. We'll kill everybody off, and then I'll just recreate.
It could be, again, the biggest thing where I have an issue with this thing. Look, I have no, I can't muster anger over a stupid video game. I think the
It's
thing
just sad.
that's disappointing, I feel like it's a disrespect to the people who created this stuff. One of the things is I think if you go back in the heyday of Marvel, had someone walked into Stanley's office while Stan was no longer writing Spider-Man and went, "Hey, Stan, in this next issue, I'd like the comic to be told from the perspective of the Green Goblin. And at the end of the comic, he's going to beat and brutally murder Spider-Man, lecturing Spider-Man about how he's a coward and a fraud before he does, and then jam a pumpkin bomb up his face before it blows Spider-Man up. And then the Rhino will come in and urinate on Spider-Man's body. What do you think? That would have been shot down so fast because Stan would have went, no, you're not doing that to Spider-Man. You're not doing that to this character.
Do you think somebody just wasn't looking? They're like, "Oh, Rocksteady, they got this."
I don't think it's that. I think what's happened, I think it's a change in the generation of creators. And I think what I think this is, I think this game is a symptom of stuff like The Boys and Invincible, where we've seen these corrupted Homeland. Let's be honest, Homelander and Omni-Man is Superman. I haven't watched much of The Boys, but I know they have a Flash character on there. I think someone called like Black Noir, who's Batman. They have
A Train
yeah.
is the Flash character.
Um, and I think what this is I think someone at Rocksteady and DC, oh, what if we did like The Boys, but in a video game? The thing is, the reason The Boys works is it's not the characters, right? And I'm not a fan of that show. I don't really watch it, but I understand Homelander getting beaten, even though it's very clearly just Superman, is not the same as actually taking Clark Kent and killing him. And I think that
You know, typically the story for this would have been the race against time to undo what Brainiac had done to the heroes.
yeah,
And so, and you could have had these, and let's just face it, the Suicide Squad are like, they're like they're the secondary, third tier, third string of villains in
yeah,
comic book villains. Harley is plays second fiddle to Joker. Um, you
yeah.
know,
I think that's the other part that, and I know you want Suicide Squad characters in the Suicide Squad. I think if you had made this game where you were controlling Lex Luthor, the Joker, and some of the more iconic villains,
then it makes sense. They could go toe to toe maybe with
Reverse
Justice.
Flash, you're really gonna tell me Deadshot, Harley, Boomerang, and King Shark took out the Justice League?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like they're second, third string villains, and they got put into this game just because the first movie did well. I don't know.
One,
Um,
I think the
everyone
other thing
everyone
is
likes Harley. I don't know.
one like even some of these things they use. Okay, I know Harley Quinn has grown in popularity. Not really. She has, but like, let's be honest, the Harley Quinn movie they put out with her name, with Margot Robbie front and center, bombed. They gave that Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey movie, and it bombed. It lost DC, I think, $100 million. The second Suicide movie with James Gunn lost a ton of money. And yeah, day and date on streaming, it lost money. The thing is, when you take Batman, and I would have still disliked it, but had this been like, hey, we're gonna have them take out Blue Beetle, like the Ted Cord Blue Beetle and Booster Gold and like a weak Justice League team, I'd have hated it, but I'd understood. The other thing is there's so many options that could have been available. You could have had this be the Crime Syndicate with Owlman and Ultraman and all of that. And what's funny is there was a kids game a few years ago, DC Lego Villains, where that was the plot. You played as the villains, but you were stopping the Crime Syndicate. To me, this is just, I think what it is, and I think this is a larger problem in comics. They're hiring people who are no longer inspired by Stan Lee, who are no longer inspired by Infantino, Roy Thomas, Siegel and Schuster, Kane and Bill Finger. They don't care about those guys. They're inspired by the Garth Ennises of the world, who openly despise superheroes. And the thing is, at least Garth Ennis always had the ability to tell stories that didn't include the actual heroes. What
You
you have
know,
now is like, I want to write superhero comics, but I hate Batman. I want to write Batman, but I can't stand him. I want to write Superman, but I think he's a weak loser that I can't like. That seems to be the attitude. And it's just,
so you think these creators, this new generation, they come to the big two to get the prestige and the paycheck, and then but they really have other stories that they'd rather write. Whereas before, it was a struggle to get into the big two, and when you got there, you were reverent of how you got there and what you were doing.
one, it's anything. I mean, like, one of the things that's frustrating about it is you have some of these creators, and we mentioned this in the first video. You are standing on the shoulders of the legends who created this stuff. These multi-billion-dollar industries that have been created with superheroes came from the brain of some of these guys who sat down with their imagination and a pen and paper and sat there and brought this stuff up. And they weren't paid like they should have been for it. And you have all these people now benefiting on it, and they don't even respect the work that was done. And
Yeah,
it's so interesting in that, there's a ton of brands that I'm not a huge fan of. But I can't imagine if, like, I always think of in football terms. There's football teams I don't care about. I wear a lot of jerseys. I've gone to games and stuff like that. There's teams I don't care about. But like, if I was hired by a team I can't stand, like the Minnesota Vikings, who play the Bears all the time and drive me crazy, I'm not going to walk in and disrespect them. I'm just like,
yeah,
"No, man, I'm going to respect the people who built this, whether I like it or not. I'm either going to decline the job or I'm going to
yeah.
come in with the proper respect for what people have done."
The decorum is gone, and it's interesting what you said about, the reverence, and and the money that the people, the money that's involved now. And I always harken back to an old audio clip of Jack Kirby
Hmm.
in the 60s or late 60s, where they got him to gripe a little bit about he called them sweatshirts. He's like, now they put him on a sweatshirt and I don't see any money from that. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, and that was pennies back then to compare to the millions that
But it is.
that it's doing now. I mean, he would just, it breaks your heart.
No, I mean, there is probably at least $1 million in Batman merchandise sold every single day. I mean, you
and,
go to
and
Walmart, he's on everything. You go to Target, there's everything Batman and
yeah,
Superman and all
and
of it.
Spider-Man, and guys like John Brome, who wrote The Flash for decades, from the 50s all the way through, well, the 60s. Well, he started writing Flash back in the 40s.
Yeah.
The original Golden Age Flash. It's just, Kanigher and all those guys, that wrote great stories, and Jack and Steve, and they didn't see hardly any money from it. And but they were the real creative force. And now you got this generation who doesn't even care. And I think, if anything, if this game is a teaching moment to anyone who's out there listening, is that, what you and I have always said: if you're a young creator and you're tired of doing superhero stories, don't do them.
There's indie books.
Yeah, you
That's
don't
the
have to.
frustrating part is it's like I don't have and I've seen this, I've seen this with Star Wars. I've seen this with different brands. It is literally like, I don't like this brand. I don't care about it. I don't respect it. But no one will buy my story. So I'm going to use a story set in that universe and basically mock and belittle it because no one would purchase it if I created it. But if I use the platform of Batman, of Star Wars, of DC Comics, of Marvel Comics, I can tell my story. And the thing is, at the end of the day, the people I hold responsible is no one individually creatively. It's the people who run DC Comics. It's Warner Brothers. It's whoever's making these decisions, and that I don't really have any animosity towards the people who made the Suicide Squad game. I don't. They're not responsible for that, in my opinion. The people who run DC Comics are. Someone could have
Yeah,
walked into a room at DC Comics and, hey, we're gonna have this game where we murder Batman, turn Flash into a loser, and pee on him.
and nobody put the brakes on that.
And no one went, guys, no, no, you're not doing that. No,
I mean,
you can defeat Batman in the game, or even, the thing is, like, even if you wanted, hey, like, and again, I know they wanted the shock value. That's the other part where I don't like so many reactions to it. Is this is exactly the intended response that Rocksteady had, was let's get shock value. Let's get shock value. See, oh, look what we did. But then they didn't even have the guts to actually carry through on it because they wouldn't do it to Wonder Woman because they didn't want the backlash that would come if they did this to Wonder Woman. It's okay when it's Batman. It's okay when it's Superman. It's okay when it's Flash or Green Lantern. Had they done this to Wonder Woman, there'd have been all kinds of people up in arms in certain groups going, you can't do that to a female character and stuff like that. And so Wonder Woman got to be the hero. And it's like, and I'm fine with that. I'm glad that at least one character got treated well. I don't want to see Wonder Woman get disrespected.
yeah, but I mean, didn't Superman burn her alive?
Yeah. I mean, but at least she goes down fighting as a warrior.
Yeah.
Batman gets shot, humiliated, lectured on a park bench, and then assassinated. Superman just gets shot to death and falls into a crater in the ground. The Flash obviously takes the worst of it. Green Lantern, they have basically mock and trash him while he's on the ground before shooting him, and then ripping his finger off to take the ring. Like, you're not talking like, we towed over the line. You went for disrespect. You went for what is the ugliest, nihilistic kind
And
of thing we can do.
the thing that kills me about it is, you could see, somebody taking a chance with a shock value thing like that. Uh, but DC in the position it's in, it's like, are you really gambling for what are you gambling for? Like this could destroy you. Like, what are you gonna do now? Like all the Arkham characters are dead now. How are you
Well,
gonna
and I'm sure, this seems to be getting a lot of backlash. I'm sure there will be some sort of backpedaling BS. Oh no, they were enhanced by Brainiac and they can come back, and no.
Oh, it was a Joker's fever dream when he was
Yeah.
in
And
Iron
that's the thing is,
Heights.
I don't even care what BS they come up with.
I don't either.
You let this happen. Someone somewhere from DC or Warner Brothers is in charge of quality control and was like, yes, I'm gonna green
Well,
like the peeing on the Flash story.
yeah, the
And
continuity and
you and I have talked about this too. Marvel has in the last it's been a while, but Marvel really in the last 20 years has asserted dominance over comics and movies. And I think Marvel's been ahead for a while. The last 20 years, it's gone from like neck and neck to Marvel's clearly ahead. And the whole thing is, I don't think Marvel would have ever let this happen. I don't
no,
think a developer could have come in and said, hey, we're going to have a Kill the Avengers game. We're going to have, I don't even know the villains that would fit it, but the Sinister Six, and halfway through the game, one of them is going to lecture Tony Stark on being a privileged jerk and then shoot him in the head. And then we're going to pee on Captain America and, light Thor on fire and then rip his hand off to hold the hammer. And Marvel, I feel like would have been like, no, what are you doing? No, get out of here. Like you're
but
fired for mentioning the job, for mentioning this.
and
Um,
that's the difference right now between DC. Well, Disney owns Marvel now, so that would never pass Disney. But even before, and DC's just like, well, try it. We've been trying to catch Marvel for 20 years. Anything's worth a chance. I don't know. I'm just trying to make up.
No, I really do
Um,
think it is. I think someone thought, oh, this would be like The Boys. This would be like The Boys. It's like The Boys exist in its own universe. It's why The Boys is unique. And again, you're DC Comics. Why are you chasing some no-name indie? Why? You have Superman, you have Batman, you have legends who've lasted almost 100 years at this point. And this is what you do. And I think the part where, if any part of this makes me angry, it's that they chose this as Kevin Conroy, the Batman of my childhood, the Batman of the animated series, the Batman of these video games that and I think they've said he has one more performance still. But that's how it goes out.
yeah,
That's how it ends. And again, I mean, Kevin Conroy couldn't have had that big a problem with it because he signed up for it. He took the paycheck. He took the job. But as a fan of the character, it's like, really, this is what you did. And I just
I don't know. Was Conroy? They split it up into little parts when they give you the
yeah, maybe
script.
he
Like,
didn't know the whole picture, and maybe he.
yeah,
I'm not going to speak on behalf of him. I
yeah,
would just say, again, it's one of those things where I would expect Warner Brothers or DC to go like, "Nah, look, guys, Kevin Conroy is the Batman of most people's childhoods that are playing these games. We're not going to have you do this to his character." And I think the other part that's frustrating, there's so many ways around what they did. The beauty of DC with multiverse stuff, and I'm not a huge fan of it, but you have Justice Leagues like the Injustice universe where you have them evil. You could have had this Suicide Squad go after something like that. You could have had there was this Justice League, the animated series had an episode with the Justice Lords where they all became corrupted and were killing people. You could have done the Crime Syndicate. You could have done so many different versions of this. And instead, it was like, no, 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 no. We don't want those other versions. We want the heroes. We want the main ones. We want to take out, and like they make it clear. We want you to know this was Barry Allen. This was Clark Kent. This was Bruce Wayne. This was John Stewart. We
they're
want
all
you to
dead.
know we're taking them out. We're disrespecting them and we don't care. And it just, man, it just rubs me
It
the wrong
was
way. It's
it
just,
was a it was a punk move. Um, and you're right, it should have been killed. But yet it wasn't. It's hard to believe. But
I think the larger question on this um, for DC, and I think you and me being DC guys on this, does DC as a company anymore represent a company that like there's a part of me that sees this and goes, maybe I'm okay just reading the old DC stories and just letting those stories exist in my mind and not supporting some of these newer creators who are doing this stuff.
yeah,
And I don't know that I'll go there. And I hate when
I'm
people
thinking about it too.
I hate when people do over exaggeration. Oh, boycott. It's ridiculous. People make their own decisions. I'm not going to tell anybody what anyone should do with their own money. There is a part of me that, like, I'll be honest, next Tuesday, I'm supposed to go to a comic store and pick up a bunch of DC comics. It's like,
Yeah,
if I really think this of Batman, of this character, why am I providing money for you guys? And I know the creatives writing the books right now, probably not the people there. It's more just the executive people like this, where it's like, man, like as a fan of these characters, that you would keep disrespecting these characters over and over and over again. And you kind of just think like, hey, people are just going to keep paying us money, so we'll do it anyway. I just don't get it in that. I think the other part that's disturbing on this is like there's been a lot of backlash to this. And there hasn't been anything with them coming out and being like, guys, this is a multiverse story. We understand it's controversial, but we love nothing like that. It's kind of just like, hey, if you don't like the story, just shut up. We made the story. Like it's fine. It shouldn't bug you, is more their response. And it's like, man, dang. Like you really I think the part that bugs me, and I don't know if it's just me on it, but is what this does to the greats who made these people. You took what Siegel and Schuster did for your company, and like, let's be honest, you didn't compensate Siegel and Schuster how they should have been.
mm,
You didn't compensate Bill Finger and Bob Kane or Infantino and Broom for what they did with the Flash. You didn't comp Denny O'Neil and I'm trying to remember the other one who created, I think Neil Adams for John Stewart. You never compensated these guys adequately for what you've turned these characters into. And then it's not even enough that you didn't compensate them. Now it's like, now we're really going to just kind of like spit on your legacy too. Like we care, so we're gonna max out as much as we can on these characters, but we also have no problem embarrassing, belittling, and mocking what you created that's made us so successful. That's a
We're
hard pill to swallow, man. That's
we're in
hard.
a we're in a new age, where this kind of stuff is tolerated and shock value. And I kind of have a feeling they were going for the shock value, but maybe not as much as they expected. But I truly feel like somebody from, like you said, somebody higher up, or somebody who cared, would have said no. I think we're going to hire a new team of writers.
No, I mean, I would think if you went to the sea, and I don't I mean this thing that scares me is I don't know how much James Gunn was or wasn't involved in this. I know he's supposed to be over movies and TV and all that. I'm not going to assume that he was, but if he was, that's scary for let's make this guy the guy heading DC movies.
The other thing I don't know about is like how much control when the contract was drawn up, like, okay, we're going to license these characters, or we're going to let you create a game with these characters that are ours.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I'm grasping at straws at this
I
point.
think the hardest part is like I just think for me mentally the hardest part is um there is no brand or thing that I dislike in this planet as much as I dislike the Green Bay Packers. I'm a Chicago. I wear a lot of jerseys, but I'm a hardcore Bears fan. I hate the Green Bay Packers. But if someone said, "Hey, Reed, we're going to have you put together a montage about the Green Bay Packers," and as much as I dislike them, if someone came to me and was like, "Here's an image of a guy peeing on the Packers logo and lighting it on fire," even as much as I hate that brand, I'm like, no, you're not doing that.
No,
You're not doing.
those fans love their team as much as you love yours.
Like, as much as I dislike them, no, we're
Yeah,
not. No.
we're not going to go
And I
there.
can't, what's funny is I think the part that stings on this one, I don't know that there's a character in all of fiction right now that I can't stand as much as Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn to me started out as a really novel concept on the Batman the Animated Series. She has so worn out her welcome as a character for me with DC. I am so tired of that character being forced into everything.
A lot of ladies like her.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things like, look, it would never happen. If they hired me to write a Harley Quinn comic book, as much as I'm either going to turn down the job or I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to ask people, what do you want to see in a Harley Quinn story? I wouldn't write it and go, let's make Harley look like the biggest idiot possible. Have her mess up all the time, be disrespected. Let me have the issue where Batman comes in and just annihilates her in a fight. Like, no, because I know there's fans of that character. And
Yeah,
I may not like that character, but I'm not going to do that to people who like the character.
yeah.
That's the hard part of this that I understand how someone from Rocksteady could create this. At the end of the day, the thing that it's hard for me to believe it even exists. That
I know, me
someone
too.
walked into someone at Warner Brothers, DC Comics, and went, here's our plans. And I could even see where they go, even conceptually, man, they go, make it, let's see what it looks like. Once you have Captain Boomerang pee on the Flash and punctuate it with, complimenting the size of Captain Boomerang's, instrument that he has down there, and that's how you punctuate the death of the Flash, one of your premier characters.
It would be one thing if, you know, they had the A-list villains. I keep coming back to that. But the D-list villains, it's, like if you put
And this was Thawne
Lex
or Captain Cold.
Luthor,
Yeah.
Reverse Flash, the Joker, you put those guys, that's a bigger battle. But maybe they just ran out of ideas, I
But
think. And,
I think the other thing that just makes me angry is, well, not angry. I keep saying angry, but just infuriates me or just frustrates me or whatever. No, I'm not. I can't muster up a ton of anger. That just annoys me. It's probably the word. That they killed him in such stupid ways and it's so poorly written. Because that's
right,
the other part of this. Is okay. The Flash is evil in this universe. An evil Flash is going to kill Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, and the other villains in this in 5 seconds. This is over so incredibly fast. And then
Yeah.
like the Flash, really, if he wanted to be a murderer, would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Superman would be terrifying.
Remember
Batman,
what he did in Deceased?
yeah,
Remember the Flash infected like the whole
yeah, he
world
infected like half the world.
in
Yeah.
5 minutes.
You have, and that's the Batman. They always imply, Batman, and this is the Arkham Batman too. That's the other part. We've seen this Batman. We've seen Starline. This Batman can defeat basically anyone. And the only thing that keeps these people alive is Batman does not kill. So I'm
Yeah.
supposed to believe that these people found Batman and he got taken out with guns. That's what took him down.
after after 80 years of dodging bullets
That
and
Superman got shot down, that the Flash got beat with bullets. Like it's
uh,
not even well written. That's the like if you'd have found some sort and what's funny is you can take 5 minutes and go, okay, how do you kill the Flash on it? Okay, you have to create something where they're all handed speedster powers, or they shoot him and trap him with something that limits his speed and he can't. Like there needs to be a story element. Someone should have sat down and went like, okay, how do we explain this Flash wouldn't just liquefy these people in 5 seconds? Instead, it's like, no, they have jetpacks and they're just gonna fly around and shoot the Flash. Okay, the Flash can run through time. The
yeah,
second he gets shot once, he's just gonna undo it.
yeah,
He's evil and has no tether to humanity anymore. What would stop him?
nothing.
Superman burns Wonder Woman to death, stares at the Suicide Squad, and then flies away. If he just executed one of his best friends, why is he not going to execute the criminals? And it's like, and I get it, it's plot armor, but it's so poorly written. And like the Harley Quinn one kills me because I've seen the cutscene like 15 times. She fires a revolver and then a casing flies out. Okay, so you didn't even do like the minimum amount of research to know how revolvers work. Like, come on, man. Like, if you're going to take this step, you better button it up and
You know
know.
what? It would have been one thing if this was like a fan made game that somebody,
Yeah.
dreamed up and just kind of threw out there. But to have it, officially licensed and produced is a
No, it
disappointment.
it boggles my mind.
I wonder what they're saying back at the DC headquarters, the Hall of
I
Justice.
bet they're probably. I think the thing is, I bet they're probably praising it. I think that's the other thing is, what's harder for me, and I try so hard not to follow any social media stuff at all because I know so many of these creators get in little online squabbles with people, and I just don't care. I don't really care what anyone. I don't
I
care what
don't
anyone
follow it. I
says.
don't follow it
I
either.
pick up the book and I let the book speak for itself. But I'd imagine with some of these guys, they're probably saying, "Oh, that was so cool." I can't believe-" Like it just, and I think that's the hard part is it's just, man, like you really had to hate these characters to do this to them. Like that's the, I don't think most folks, if you were handed a brand you don't like, would have done this. So it's like, man, how much animosity did we? Why is DC Comics hiring people that have this level of hatred for these characters? And at the end of the day, the other part is like, if you hate these characters that much, why the heck are you working for DC Comics?
Yeah. And
My bottom.
we keep coming back to that. And it's not just DC, it's also Marvel. They hire these writers that seem to have an animosity for the character they're in charge of. The reverence is gone where the days like when Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee were coming up, the reverence they had for the characters that they were, entrusted with,
Yeah.
um, you could tell that they really loved it.
No,
But
like, whether the story was executed brilliantly by those guys or not, you could tell at least they cared.
yeah, they did.
That's the hard part with this is that there's always been bad comic books. There's always been bad events that you shake your head and go, man, what were you thinking? But with a lot of them, you can look and go, I understand what you were trying to do. It didn't work, but I get it. Like you were
Yeah,
trying to do something different. These is like, no, they weren't trying to do anything different. They walked into this and were like, I want to let you guys know I'm writing the Flash and I hate the character. So I'm just gonna let you know that from the outset. And if you're a fan of the book, I don't care. I'm gonna do whatever I want to the character, and I don't like him, and you're just gonna deal with it. And
well,
that,
they took a match to the Justice League, and where are you going to go from for games now? Like, is anybody going to buy a Suicide Squad game again?
Oh, no, I'm like, that's the other thing is, let's be honest, DC. As much as you want to disrespect Batman and Ben that character, he's the only thing keeping the lights on.
I know.
That's the part that always makes me mad with Batman is you get all these little shows like Titans and things like that where they just want to take these little snipes at Batman. And it's like, look, you always hire these creatives who I don't know, maybe they have dad issues and they hate Batman as a result of something. I don't know. But it's like you don't take all these little snipes at Batman and it's like, let's be honest. If the Batman comic book and Batman merchandise disappeared off the shelves at DC, no matter what your opinion is, the lights go out pretty fast. You take Batman and Superman away from the brand of DC Comics, Harley Quinn ain't keeping you in business.
No.
You take those other ones, uh, it's just hard to believe. And I think for you and me as lifelong DC fans, I think the hardest part of this to kind of close out, I always get in these little arguments with Marvel fans about why I like DC more. And I love Marvel, but I
Yeah.
always get in these arguments with Marvel fans about our characters are better. It's pretty dang hard to win any arguments when your own company that you're trying to back with DC is like, no, we actually hate them too. That makes it a little difficult, but
Yeah.
let us know what you guys think below. Have you seen this game? Do you think that we're on base with kind of the attitude towards it, or if there's a different perspective that you see of this, maybe someone can put something down there that explains why this makes sense. I again, one of the things is I am always open to hearing arguments. I don't really know one that could convince me on this one, but I will never act like I'm 100% the expert on anything. So if anyone has thoughts below where you can put it in a different perspective, maybe there's something I'm missing. Always willing to consider that. But let us know what you guys think below. Thank you as always for watching. We'll catch you in our next video.